So you know how it is these days, right?
Yeah.
you want to like learn about all this cool stuff, but you just never seem to have the time.
Totally.
So that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
We like to just get into all the details of some really interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to be talking about how the U.S. Army has been trying to recruit people for like the past 50 years.
Wow.
And we've got this really cool article from the Army News Service. And this was published pretty recently, April 2nd, 2025.
Interesting.
So it's got like a really good historical perspective on all this stuff.
Yeah. So what are we trying to figure out today?
So like the main thing I want to understand is how their message has changed over time.
Yeah.
Like how are they trying to appeal to different generations?
Right.
Because, you know, every generation is a little bit different.
For sure.
And of course, recruiting is always tough.
Yeah. It's a huge challenge.
So let's dive into this Army News Service article.
That was good.
See what we can learn.
All right.
So one thing that really stood out to me
Yeah.
is that all these recruiting campaigns, you know, over the past 50 years, they all kind of happened, you know, since we moved to an all-volunteer force.
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense, right?
That definitely.
Like if you're not drafting people, you have to actually convince them to sign up.
Exactly. You need to be way more creative.
And like you need to come up with these really appealing messages that are going to resonate with people.
And they have to keep changing them too.
Exactly.
As society changes.
Which is what makes this whole topic so fascinating.
I agree.
So, okay, let's start with a classic.
Okay.
Be All You Can Be.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
This one ran for a super long time.
I bet.
Like over 20 years.
Wow.
From 1980 all the way to 2001.
It's a huge run.
It is. And then get this.
What?
They actually brought it back in 2023.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I think it's pretty clear why this campaign was so successful.
Yeah.
Like the article talks about how the ads really focused on these core American values.
Like what?
Like pride, patriotism, and, you know, that whole idea of like self-improvement.
Yeah, like getting an edge on life.
Exactly. And who could forget that jingle?
Oh, man, that jingle.
Be all that you can be. Get an edge on life. In the Army.
I haven't heard that in years.
I know, but it's so catchy.
It really is.
Like it just gets stuck in your head.
And it totally worked.
It did. And I think one of the reasons it worked so well was because of when it came out.
Okay, what do you mean?
So think about it.
Okay.
This campaign launched in 1980, which was right in the middle of this like post-Vietnam era.
Right.
Like the country was still kind of healing from that war.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Army's image had taken a hit.
Definitely.
They were facing some serious recruiting challenges.
I can imagine.
So they needed a way to like rebuild trust and rekindle this sense of patriotism.
Okay.
And that's exactly what Be All You Can Be did.
So smart.
It tapped into this idea that like you can achieve your dreams by serving your country.
I see.
It was this really powerful message.
It makes sense.
That resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, it definitely worked.
And it wasn't just about like, you know, vague patriotism.
Okay.
They also really emphasized the practical benefits of joining the Army.
Like what kind of benefit?
I remember seeing this one commercial from back then where they said something like, we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
Wow. That's a good one.
I know, right?
It sounds intense.
Yeah, and that was the point.
Okay.
They wanted to attract people who were ambitious. You know, people who were ready for a challenge. People who wanted to push themselves.
I like that.
And, you know, they also needed people who could handle all the new technology the Army was using.
Yeah, that was getting pretty advanced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they really wanted to recruit people who were smart and capable and could learn new things quickly.
Makes sense.
And this article also highlights how they were recruiting for the Army Rangers.
Oh, wow.
During this time.
Those guys were like the elite.
They are.
Super intense.
Yeah, so their message was even more focused on like the extreme challenge and the idea that, you know, you're part of something really special.
Yeah, that you're the best of the best.
Exactly. And they had this great tagline.
What was it?
Rangers lead the way.
That's pretty badass.
It is.
So they brought back Be All You Can Be in 2023.
They did.
Why do you think they did that?
Well, the article actually quotes the former Secretary of the Army.
Oh, wow.
Christine E. Wormuth.
Okay.
And she basically said that the Army was having a really hard time recruiting people.
Really?
Yeah, especially after the pandemic.
That's interesting.
Like, it seems like a lot of young people just weren't that interested in joining the military.
I guess that makes sense.
So they decided to bring back this classic campaign,
Oh.
hoping that it would, like, rekindle some of that old magic.
Yeah, like tap into that nostalgia.
Exactly. And, the new version of the campaign, it's obviously updated, like they're showing soldiers in modern settings.
Right.
But the message is still the same.
Like-
It's all about realizing your potential and, getting that edge on life.
I like it.
And they even echo the old slogan.
Really?
Yeah, in different languages.
Wow, that's cool.
It is.
So they're trying to reach an even wider audience.
Oh, exactly.
That's really smart.
It is.
So what else did they do in 2023?
So the article mentions that they really focused on 15 specific cities.
Interesting.
And they also made a big effort to help people with the application process.
So it's more hands-on.
Exactly.
That's a good strategy.
And Secretary Wormuth, she talked about how they were trying to connect Army service to things like passion and purpose and future careers. So it's not just about, serving your country. It's also about personal growth and professional development.
That's a smart angle,
It is.
especially for today's young people.
Exactly. They want to know what's in it for them.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, let's move on to the next big campaign,
All right.
Army Strong.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one too.
This one ran from 2006 to 2018.
Okay.
So it kind of overlapped with Be All You Can Be for a few years, and then it took over.
Gotcha.
And this one was definitely different.
How so?
Well, it came out right in the middle of the Iraq War.
Oh, yeah.
So the message was much more focused on
What?
strength
Okay.
and resilience and character building.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, they really wanted to emphasize the mental and physical toughness
Well,
of soldiers.
it was a tough time.
It was.
And the Army needed to show that they were up to the challenge.
Exactly.
So how did they do that in the ads?
So the imagery was really interesting.
Tell me about it.
Like, a lot of the ads, they showed soldiers in all these different environments, like deserts and forests and even urban areas.
Interesting.
And they were always looking directly into the camera.
Like super intense.
Exactly. And sometimes they would recite the soldier's creed.
Oh, wow.
It was very powerful.
I bet.
And it really conveyed this sense of unwavering determination and commitment.
Yeah.
Like, these soldiers were ready for anything.
That's a good message.
It was. And the article says that this campaign actually worked pretty well.
Really?
Yeah. Especially during the surge in Iraq.
Oh, okay.
Like, there was this renewed sense of patriotism and support for the military.
Right.
So a lot of people were inspired to join.
I see.
But then recruiting numbers started to decline.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And eventually they had to phase out the Army Strong campaign.
So what happened?
Well, I think there are a few possible explanations.
Okay, what are they?
So as the war in Iraq dragged on, public support started to wane.
Right.
And I think some people just started to get tired of all the fighting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also, I think the message of Army Strong, it just wasn't as effective anymore.
Like, why not?
Well, I think after a while, people started to realize that being in the Army wasn't just about being physically and mentally tough.
Right.
It was also about, dealing with all the other challenges that come with military service.
Like
being away from your family and seeing combat and potentially getting injured.
Definitely.
So I think the Army Strong message, it just started to feel incomplete.
I see.
Like, it wasn't capturing the full reality of what it means to be a soldier.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So they needed to come up with a new approach.
So what did they do?
Well, before we get to that,
Okay.
there's this other campaign we should talk about.
Okay, what is it?
An Army of One.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, this one was kind of short-lived.
Yep.
It ran in the early 2000s.
So between Be All You Can Be and Army Strong.
Exactly. And this one was really interesting.
How so?
Well, it seems like they were specifically trying to target Generation X.
Interesting.
And the message was all about
Yeah.
individual excellence
Okay.
and strength. Like, they wanted to emphasize the impact that one person could have.
I see.
And they had this really cool commercial.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
It was called Dog Tags.
Okay.
And it showed this lone soldier jogging through the desert.
Interesting.
And he's saying this line,
What's the line?
"The might of the U.S. Army doesn't lie in numbers, it lies in me."
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It is.
And very different from Army Strong.
Totally.
So why didn't this one last very long?
Well, the article says that some Army leaders, they started to get worried.
About what?
That the campaign was overemphasizing individualism.
Oh, at the expense of teamwork.
Right.
Which is obviously super important in the military.
Yeah, you can't win a war by yourself.
Exactly.
You need to be able to work together.
So they decided to scrap an army of one.
I see.
And move on to something else.
So what came next?
So the two most recent campaigns are Warriors Wanted and What's Your Warrior?
Interesting.
And these ones seem to be specifically targeted at Gen Z.
Makes sense.
So Warriors Wanted,
yeah.
That one's all about projecting this image of a modern, deployable, lethal force.
Gotcha.
Like they show a lot of really intense imagery.
Like what?
Like Army Rangers rappelling from helicopters.
Oh, wow.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, that's going to get someone's attention.
Exactly. And then What's Your Warrior? That one's a little more focused.
Okay.
It's all about finding your individual talents and developing your skills within the Army.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like a more personalized approach.
I like that.
Yeah. And I think it's really smart.
How so?
Well, Gen Z.
Yeah.
They're all about like personalization,
right.
Customization.
Right.
So I think this message really resonates with them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, that's basically the evolution of Army recruiting campaigns.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's amazing how much they've changed over time.
I know.
And how they've always tried to adapt to the different challenges they've faced and the different generations they've tried to recruit.
Totally.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that even these like huge institutions like the U.S. Army, they have to be constantly learning and adapting if they want to stay relevant.
For sure.
And connect with people.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's a really interesting case study in how to communicate effectively.
And how to understand different generations.
Exactly.
So I guess the question is, what do you think all of this means?
Well, that's a good question. Like, what do these shifts in recruiting strategy tell us about the changing perceptions of military service?
Right.
And, you know, the values that different generations prioritize.
That's a big one.
It is.
Like, do you think the patriotic appeal
of be all you can be would still work today?
I don't know.
Or do you think young people are more drawn to the individualistic approach of an army of one?
Interesting.
Or maybe the skills-based focus of What's Your Warrior?
It's hard to say.
It is.
But it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what messages are going to resonate most strongly with people today?
Right.
And why?
I think that's a really important question.
It is.
And I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth exploring.
I agree.
So yeah, I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
All right, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Bye.